This is from the 80s when I worked with Jim Elliott in Washington, D.C. And this thing works. This one works. And back then, we were still number one, but we worked for ABC in Washington. Yeah, they owned a radio station. They've now sold it. But back then it was owned by ABC. So we had ABC TV, ABC Network, ABC Radio. And we had a 5-year, multi-million-dollar contract. We were hot stuff in the 80s. So I'm going to play this. This was professionally produced by someone, and I'm going to get it up to where we did weird stuff on the air and really gained a big pile of listeners. Great. Okay, no wonder I put it in backwards. It's a cassette, for God's sakes. No wonder they invented MP3s.
The Most Music Q107, celebrating our 10th anniversary with a decade of memories. Elliott and Woodside.
We read an article in the newspaper when we came in about how the Defense Department, they were testing new bullets for warfare. They would, hang these dogs up and shoot the dogs to see how effective these bullets were. And we got on the air and we just made a huge stink about, this is the Defense Department, these are pets. How can you do this to dogs if you're as up in arms about this as we are? Here's the number of Caspar Weinberger, who was Secretary of Defense. And we just gave it out on the air. And the Defense Department called up Q107 and said, you better stop this. Because the guy, nothing was happening. Nobody could get through to Weinberger because we had tied up his lines. And at 9:30 that morning, he held a press conference stating that due to public outcry, they would no longer use dogs.
Elliott and Woodside in the morning, Q107.
So I'm Woodside. Elliott was my partner. We had a 10-year run in the nation's capital. We blew out the analog phone system at the Department of Defense. Crazy as it may be, but back then there was no talk radio, and we had a captivated audience because we were the only ones talking crap between records. So here's some more. Listen to this. This is crazy.
The Most Music Q107, celebrating our 10th anniversary with a decade of memories. Elliott and Woodside.
You got to realize, no American correspondent, at that time, Cronkite, Chancellor, all of them, nobody had ever done an interview with a Russian official inside the Soviet embassy. And here it is right after this whole thing happened with a plane crashing. And here comes Scott Woodside from Q107 in Washington, out-scooping every network. I can just see these network news directors saying, what the hell is going on? We spend millions and millions, and here's this guy from a local radio station just walking in the door. So now I'm doing the show from the street. I said, can you hear me, Scott? And the guy had told him, don't turn on your wireless mic. So here's Scott saying, Elliott, I'm in this room. I said, well, what's the room like? Well, there's a picture of Stalin on the wall or whatever. And all of a sudden I hear this guy walk in, Vladimir, into the room. Scott goes, oh. He thought that was it, right?
I thought I was dead. I knew if they kill a whole plane load, what the hell's one little guy from Q107, He's history.
Elliott and Woodside in the morning, Q107.
Yeah, so that all came to be because on a Friday we said, what are we going to do Monday for the ratings? How are we going to stir up the monkeys? I said, why don't we do a live show in front of the Russian embassy in Washington, which is right down the street from where our studios were on Jennifer Street, and demand that the Soviet Union at the time tell us why they shot down a Korean airliner and killed Congressman Larry McDonald. And to really shove it up the Soviets, why don't we order 10,000 American flags and hand them out to everybody that walks by on their way to work and drives by? So we did. And a rock and roll radio news guy, first person to ever have a live impromptu interview on Soviet soil in the nation's capital, never heard of. When I walked out, all the media was there saying, "How'd you get the scoop? How'd you get the scoop?" So we badgered them into saying something. Anyway, I guess you had to be there, but here's some more. Listen.
The Most Music Q107, celebrating our 10th anniversary with a decade of memories. Elliott and Woodside.
It was my turn to go do an appearance at the Montgomery County Fairgrounds, and it was those nice little, beautiful, petite, 98-pound, gorgeous mud wrestling women that traveled all over the country. Our promotions director, Vivian Vaughn, said, "Oh, Scott, oh, dear, just go talk to them and they'll do whatever you want." And he said, "Don't worry about a thing, just go with the flow. If we pull your hair, don't fight it, just go with it, and we'll flip you automatically and you won't get hurt or anything. It just looks good from a distance." I got in there and they literally beat the living crud out of me. A 98-pound woman, I'll never know how the hell she did this, picked me up in midair and spun me around and slung my butt into the mud, face down, and my daughter, Stacy's going, "They're killing my daddy! They're killing my daddy!"
Elliott and Woodside in the morning. Q107.
And the general manager at the time said, Woodside, the Montgomery County Fair Association in Maryland, is concerned that you might sue them. And I told them you weren't going to sue them. And I thought, I should have sued them. Geez, I'd be a multimillionaire. I'd own TikTok. I could have bought TikTok. I could have been the new CEO. But no, I didn't sue them. To this day, I have a bad back. But you do what you have to do to be number one on the radio. Entertainment is not easy.